Hello again, and for today we are delving into one of the big topics of the Star Wars month, and that is, of course, talking about the Fandom Menace. Now, what is the Fandom Menace? To me, the Fandom Menace is a collection of fans that are completely dissatisfied with Disney Star Wars and are not afraid to voice their opinions online, and that is the textbook definition of the Fandom Menace. All of the Fandom Menace channels will be listed in the sources rather than articles, because basically the Fandom Menace has caught the ire of the media, and they have used the Fandom Menace as a weapon to blame any fans that do any wrongdoings as toxic, and this is what they call toxic fandom. But in reality, the Fandom Menace just has very good arguments as to why Disney Star Wars is a steaming pile of dog shit. And I'm going to go over the history of the Fandom Menace and then the most recent event that happened to the Fandom Menace that I think is super important because it spells a lot of the future of, consumer versus media and corporation kind of warfare and the culture war. And so, what really formed the Phantom Menace? Well, I would say the starting of the High Council after the world-class bullshitters and Ethan Van Piver podcast slash, I believe it was just a video on them talking about the Last Jedi Blu-ray and how awful it was. And this kicked off Ethan Van Piver's complete hatred of Disney Lucasfilm and the Disney Star Wars sequel trilogy. He was just one of these people that kind of didn't really like The Force Awakens but didn't cause a stir, and The Last Jedi stirred him into action on talking about politics and culture and ended up getting him fired from DC Comics because all the people that hated Ethan Van Piver at DC Comics kind of did go after him. I mean, that it is fair that happened, and it's really kind of messed up. But with this formation, you also enter a third player that isn't world-class bullshitters or Ethan Van Piver. It is Geeks and Gamers, Jeremy Griggs. And Geeks and Gamers was able to build a brand not only off the High Council, but on his own channel with multiple different content creators talking about their hatred of what Disney has done to Star Wars. And this is kind of what happens as a result of a relentless shill attack on the Fandom Menace. And as a result of the nonstop war that the media and journalists have waged on fucking the Phantom Menace, there's been channel growth for all. If you're a Mindless Entertainment, Ivan Ortega, Doomcock, Nerdrotic, That Star Wars Girl, RK Outpost, all of these channels have gotten lots and lots of growth as a result of being in the presence of Geeks and Gamers and world-class bullshitters and fucking Ethan Van Piver and Mahler and the EFAP crew. I mean, everyone has gotten a significant boost just by talking shit on The Last Jedi. And as a result, I do believe that the media and certain journalists playing in this culture war blame the failure of Solo a Star Wars story on the Phantom Menace causing such a stink after The Last Jedi, when it's just that The Last Jedi was just a bad movie and people are not motivated to go see another potential stink bomb if, one movie is really that bad. One movie can ruin a franchise. This is very much true when it comes to talking about Star Wars. This will happen when it comes to talking about Marvel. You can't prop up turds like Captain Marvel forever. At some point the buck will stop, and I think if Thor Love and Thunder is just complete woke garbage like the book that it's probably based on, like the arc with fucking Jason Aaron's Thor with Jane Foster, it's gonna fucking do a lot of damage to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But we'll see, because Phase 4 seems like it's got a lot of turds in it anyway. And so speaking of the Fandom Menace, the Fandom Menace was able to galvanize into talking about all kinds of cultural woes, like the Game of Thrones Season 8 disaster, uh, Star Trek Discovery being really cringe, and Doctor Who, and literally now anytime there's some kind of like woke reboot, the Fandom Menace is like there to cover it. And it's super funny because now the media has created their own monster. The media has essentially created their antagonist just by antagonizing average consumers. And what's really funny is that J.J. Abrams named them. Now, if you know what I'm talking about when I say name them, in politics, if you name, let's just call them the tribe, you will get harangued. You will get, ostracized. You will get driven out of society. And it's really not good to name your opponent. And that's exactly what J.J. Abrams has done. And by legitimizing the Fandom Menace, by naming them in that Esquire article, he has basically begin the destruction of Star Wars for Walt Disney and Lucasfilm. And it's so funny, bro. Like, because behind the scenes, they are constantly talking about how, all these fan groups are essentially undoing all of the money that has been sunk into Disney Star Wars. And it's just so ridiculous that they get this fucking ass blasted behind the scenes, that they send their little attack dogs in journalism and in the media to go after people. And, again, they create their own enemies. It's like you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain. And oh man, it's all just so funny at this point. Like it's gone from it's just so tiresome to now it's just fucking hilarious. And I don't really know what's gonna come next when it comes to the Fandom Menace, because Disney Star Wars is clearly scared of the people that talk shit on their properties. And if they're going to do the same thing that they've done to Star Wars to Marvel, which Marvel, to be fair, has already been doing this in the comics, but if it just goes mainstream into the movies, into the big money makers, you bet your fucking ass that this will not end well for anyone involved. And it's just, oh my god, it's just so fucking beautiful to see this kind of shit come up. Because, it's December 12th. We are 8 days away from the Rise of Skywalker getting into theaters in a wide release format. And every day that draws closer, I hear friends being like, who gives a shit? I hear people being like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to go see this one. And I am just like on cloud nine. As someone who really hated The Force Awakens, like the Fandom Menace has been a fucking blessing, because it was so lonely being what I thought was one of the few people who hated The Force Awakens. And over time, people have come around to being like, yeah, The Force Awakens doesn't really have anything going for it. And there are so many people that have staked their careers on hating the Star Wars prequels that, are now coming around to saying, hey, maybe Disney Star Wars is actually kind of worse. And it's just, it's so vindicating, bro. Like, it's just so awesome to finally, like, get over that molehill and onto the mountaintop that is hatred of Disney Star Wars. And who knows what's going to come in the next few days, but as far as content-wise, I am still all set to talk about all of this stuff. With all of this shit, though, in conclusion, Disney, again, is just creating their own monsters that they have to now deal with as a result of poor management from Kathleen Kennedy, bad product from both J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson, and, just lack of interest once people get to see what's behind the curtain. And it's just such a fucking fun time for me to be a Star Wars hater, because it's just like we are at the precipice of what could be one of the biggest disasters of the year. You know, like, yeah, it will make money, but again, I don't think it will make a penny over a fucking $1 billion. And by that I mean $999,999,999.99. If it's lower, then I'm fucking excited as shit. If it's higher, then yeah, I'm a little disappointed, but it's kind of objective to say that it would have probably made over $1 billion. I'm just hopeful that people have finally said, look, enough is enough. We are not going to take this shit anymore from you, Disney and Lucasfilm. We're not going to take these garbage fucking movies that have ruined our beloved characters, and we are just going to instead say, fuck you. And only the normies will show up, and even the normies will be like, yeah, I don't need to see that again. No interest. No interest in seeing that again. And so, to Disney Lucasfilm, who, again, create their own monsters, don't learn lessons, don't want to accept responsibility for their actions, well, you better tread lightly, because the Fandom Menace will just keep growing and growing and growing.